with BPOS, getting to security, one of the things we want to do is when you and I connect, we want to make sure, because we don't want these people listening to what we're going to do. We want to make sure that it is secure and encrypted, the connection between us. Now, if we're in the network right here, it's a local network, that's cool because Active Directory will take care of that. So we've got a good encrypted connection, all that good fun stuff. If, however, we're connecting through the cloud, not so much. We don't know necessarily whether or not it's a secure connection. Office 2003 by itself really doesn't offer us any encryption techniques or technology, like a VPN type of connection. So with BPOS in 2003, you needed a client tool to run that actually created the connection between this laptop and the cloud service. And it was fine, and you boot up, it logs in, it takes care of the stuff, goes in the background, that's cool, no problem. Well, 2010, Office 365 gets rid of that. There is no desktop client for Outlook connectivity. Why is that? Because Outlook 2007 and 2010 include that built in. Okay, wait a second. I just heard 2000. BPOS works fine with Office 2003. Office 365 will not. So, if your organization has Office 2003 Outlooks, they will not work with Office 365. Here's the thing that sticks in my craw. They didn't bother telling us that when we were out selling BPOS. And Microsoft essentially made this, very lighthearted announcement. It made no real big bones about it. And honestly, this is one where I'm embarrassed. And I've said so to some of our clients, and I've said so to Microsoft, because we were telling Microsoft, or we were telling our clients when they were talking about migrating to this service, that you don't have to worry about licensing, you don't have to worry about hardware, and we were talking about server stuff. But now we have to go back to them and say, oh, yeah, you do. Because what's going to happen is a BPOS client will essentially, at some point, first or second quarter next year, will be told by Microsoft, we're ready to migrate you. That client then will have 12 months from that point. So from today, we're talking, 15 to 18 months. But they will have 12 months from that point in time to migrate to Office 365, or else they're done. Okay? So be aware, when you're looking, even if you're looking at a BPOS to Office 365 migration, that within 15 to 18 months, you will have to be on Office 2007, 2010, or strictly use OWA. So you can still use Office 2003, just not Outlook. Okay? I am very, and it's getting to be a broken record between me and Microsoft because I let them know this stuff. I'm not happy at all with the way they're handling this. Okay? I'm sorry? I have spoken to them that this is an issue, and in most cases, we've got customers who are already saying, I'm not going to say defense because the way I understand why they did it, but the way they're doing it, I'm not happy about it. Office 2003 by 2012 is 9-year-old technology. But it's also 6-year-old technology if somebody bought it in 2006. Okay? Most companies that we're working, actually the companies that we're working with that are in this position have already made some plans to upgrade. But it's one of those things, this is what I told Microsoft, I don't care about the restriction. I care about the way it's being disseminated and the position it's leaving us in. So, yeah, and it's one of those where part of our job is to tell our customers bad news. This is what's going to happen because of this scenario. And I don't expect vendors to magically make all those things clean up. But I expect us to be in a position where we can minimize the impact. That's my issue. Anyway. So, yada, 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 yada. So as you see, it's 2007, SP2 and above, 2008 for Mac and Entourage. And what do we find out about Entourage and DPOS?
2008.
Yeah.
Have Entourage 2008. Office 2011 is not supported by the DPOS.
Right, like Kevin was saying, the latest version of Office for the Mac is not supported by BPOS. Now, unlike when Office 2010 came out, when Outlook 2010 was beta, it still worked, they just weren't supporting it. In this particular case, it doesn't work yet. Fair statement? Here's, again, when we talk about how this is going to work or not work, I can't stress enough this concept of cloud versus non-cloud. And this is the positioning that Microsoft has the ability to do, and I don't think they're doing it enough, is right now, let's talk email. If I've got my email up in the cloud, if I lose connectivity to the cloud, I'm SOL. Okay? I'm not able to connect. I'm not able to work on offline stuff. I can't do whatever. If I've got everything locally, if this local resource becomes compromised, I'm SOL. Both single structure strategies have Achilles heels. All right? That's true for files. That's true for applications. So if I've got documents that are only on this laptop, if this laptop is unavailable for whatever reason, I'm SOL. One of the nice things about the Microsoft solutions is from a data standpoint, I can be in both places simultaneously. So for example, I can take my SharePoint file content, connect it with my Outlook, so that every time I open up Outlook, we synchronize all of the shared document folders. If I'm offline, but I'm here, so I'm not connected to the web, the internet, whatever, I can open and I can modify any documents I want to. And then the next time I'm connected, boom, they go up to the cloud and any changes come down to the cloud. Similarly, if I'm not near my laptop, I can go up to the cloud on somebody else's machine, open up the files, modify the files, all that fun stuff. And then the next time this guy goes online, we synchronize the changes. So both Achilles heels with this solution are taken care of in terms of the data. Now what we're doing with the Office 365, we're doing the same thing but with the applications. So I've got Office on this laptop. I can open up that previously mentioned data file, the Word document, work on it, cool. But I can also, if I'm not at my laptop, I can go up to the cloud, open up Word, albeit a less powerful version, work on that document that's up in the cloud, and save it. In either scenario, the next time my laptop connects with the cloud, boom, they're both updated. That strategy, especially on the application, that's one of the biggest differences between Google and between Microsoft. Because in Microsoft's case, you can have a scenario where it's both local and it's cloud-based on both the application layer and the data layer. And one of the things is like conversation we were having yesterday. One of the things you can't protect against every scenario, but you can protect against reasonable ones. Do we have anyone who's purely cloud-based? No. And here's why. It's almost all companies have some vertical business application, a line of business app or something along those lines. And so a line of business application, remember, if I connect through a Cat5, the blue or yellow cable or gray cable, okay, that connection between here and whatever the local resources are within this company are usually going to be either 100 megabits per second, 100 million bits per second, or 1 gigabit, 1,000 million bits per second. Pretty fast. Which means that if we need something that's on a local server, that's going to come to us pretty quickly. The cloud, however, is going to be different. The cloud, if we go with a T1 line, which is usually kind of a T1 or a high-speed DSL, you're usually looking for a T1 line at 1.4 million bits per second, 1.5% the speed. So for a line of business application, if it's not thin, you're not going to get the performance necessary. Okay? So and also the people who are up in the cloud providing it is probably not a commodity enough service where they're going to be able to give it to you for a price, with the exception of hosted servers, and I'll get back to that in a second. So what's happening now is a company can take a look and say, what works for us for these commodity, what I'll call commodity level services, email, the file and print, file sharing, not so much print sharing, all of those kind of things, and they can choose which model works best for them. Now, an example where the cloud makes sense is we were talking to one company, they weren't quite ready to go with it yet. They have about 100 employees. 7 of them are in their office. Everybody else is remote. Well, in that sense, why put an application box in their physical office where everybody has to connect to it? In that case, rent a server someplace else, you know, an ISP's office or something along those lines, and have everybody connect, in which case they would be a perfect cloud combination. But what you are going to see more and more are companies where they're going to look at it and go, okay, our critical line of business stuff is going to be here. All of the commodity-based stuff that makes sense to have in the cloud is going to be up in the cloud. And the problem is, and I've said this many times before, we are in a solution-rich environment right now. And it's getting worse or better, depending upon your point of view. And there's a lot of people who are you know, going on and on about how the cloud is the future. Bull. The cloud is a new tool. It is a new strategy. It's a new way of doing it. Just like client server, just like multi-tier, just like Web 2.0, just like all these other things. Now, the challenge, bless you, the challenge from an IT perspective, from a service provider, and I would say this for an internal IT person as well as from a consultant standpoint, is we have to be able to discuss the pluses and the minuses on all levels. From a business, you know, how is your business position? And what are your business requirements going? So, for example, Roger, I'm going to pick on you for a second. You know, his organization has a bunch of AutoCAD people, all right? And if they were going to use email to send drawings to each other within their organization, and I'm not saying you do, because I know better, then you are creating very large files to go back and forth between. If they were going cloud-based emails, that would be a huge impact just going up just to come back down again. In which case, cloud email doesn't make much sense. So it's that kind of knowledge about what their business is doing versus what the strengths and weaknesses all these services have. That's the discussion that has to happen. Because I'll tell you right now, this is not 100% for everybody. And I don't care what presentation we're doing. No solution is going to work for everybody 100% of the time.